thank you all for coming, and thank you all for being here and making this such a family affair. I think we have multiple generations here from, this is my daughter Olivia, but also Sam has brought his parents, Carrie has brought her son, and you know, this is really what this is about. I think many of you have heard and experienced what I experienced in 2016, and you know, waking up on that November morning, hopeful, and Olivia and I got dressed in all white and went down the boat and took turns filling out half of the bubble each, and then our bubble burst. And I woke up the next morning and I called my dad in tears and asked him how I was going to raise my daughter in a country where sexual assault wasn't disqualifying for the highest office in the land. And then January came along and Olivia wrote a letter to the president about kindness, and when I went to take a picture of it, she told me that I couldn't, because what if the president found out she wrote it and brought his guns to our house? And I told her that being an American means that you stand up for what you believe in, even if the people in power disagree. And that in our family, when we see something unfair, we work to change it. And that's what I've done in my life. I worked on voting rights after an African American woman called me in the 2000 election from Florida and said, you know, I've just shown 3 forms of ID and a utility bill. What more do I need to do to vote? It's what happened when I found out a judge had ruled that there's no expectation of privacy in a doctor's office. And then that judge was nominated to the Federal Appeals Court, and I helped tell that story and keep that judge off of the appeals court. And it's what happened when I found out that there are over 20 million people trapped in forced labor and human trafficking around the world, many of them tied to the goods we use, and ultimately tied to our federal government and federal procurement. And I worked in President Obama's administration to help reform federal procurement practices across all of the agencies. And so if you add it up, I've spent my life standing up to abuses of power and the support systems that enable them. And in contrast, Barbara Comstock, you know, has been now a support system for the epitome of an abuse of power in this president. And I think, you know, many of you in this room know her playbook, right? She talks like us, and then she votes like them. And this time in the direction of our federal government is too critical to let continue down the path of raiding the federal treasury for self-enrichment. I don't know how many of you saw that he's now just issued an infrastructure plan that includes privatizing our airports, roads, space, and water. And we can do better than that, and we have. But we can only do better than that with your help. And so your coming here at the kickoff of this is just incredibly touching to me, and we'll need your help a lot in the coming months to knock on doors and make phone calls and talk to your friends. And I think Hannah will speak a little bit more about what we need going forward, but you have, you now know where we live. We do kind of actually live here. And you're welcome anytime, and I look forward to talking to all of you afterwards and answering any of your specific questions. Hannah?